Is like a group of Counting Crows fans called a murder?
I like that. That made me, what did you call internal smirk?
Yeah.
That made me internal smirk.
I want to get that checked out by your primary physician. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of First Issue Club. My name is Greg Lichtai, one of your co-hosts. I'm here with Michael DeStacy,
Hey.
Caitlin Lichtai.
Hello.
Today we'll be covering Crow. Hark the Herald. Is that what it is? Hark the
Yes.
Herald?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's slightly ominous, isn't it?
It's ominous
And
yet festive.
Filled with Yuletide. Correct.
So I'm confused yet inspired.
Perfect.
We'll get into that later. We're also going to be covering Killadelphia. My vote for best title of a comic book 2019.
Hell yeah.
What a name, Killadelphia.
It was also a rap album, I'm pretty sure.
And I think some like metal things too.
So
yeah.
Obviously the name's been used
Oh.
before.
Lamb of God.
Yeah.
It was a metal band.
Oh.
And they had an album called Killadelphia.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Metal band, Killadelphia.
Or it was like a on-the-road documentary or something.
Well,
Either way.
Something
let me
like
guess.
that.
The show was in Philadelphia?
Well, it all relates to like the high number of murders that occur in the city, right?
Oh, see, I didn't know that. Is Philadelphia known for like a high murder rate?
Well, it's known for brotherly love, but after
My
that,
bullet loves your skin.
after that murder, yeah,
Two things
first for
Philadelphia is known
First
for.
for brotherly love, though.
Rocky,
And murder.
love, and murder, in that order.
It's us, Chicago, and Kansas City. We're known for murder and our overly politeness. Okay, well, before we get into the episode, I have one little tidbit for you and the viewers. We talked about it before the episode. I wanted to bring it up because it's kind of just a mind-boggling fact that I found. Recently, at an auction house, Marvel Comics #1 came out in 1939. Marvel Comics #1 sold for $1.26 million. Now, this is a graded comic. It's a 9.4 out of 10, which there's only like maybe less than 5 9.0
Who
Marvel Comics
who
#1.
kept that? Like, I just.
It's
What was the
mind-boggling,
life-
right?
What was the journey of that book?
So I guess it's only okay. So the myth of it is a mail carrier bought this from a store in 1940, and it's only changed hands once or twice. So it's only been owned by like 3 different people,
Yeah.
and it's been just kept in pristine condition.
Wow.
Obviously, if it's a 9.4 and it's from 1939, they must have kept that thing in a goddamn safe.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and just like what kind of foresight to be like, this is something that I have to preserve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Back then, like comic books, you just threw them away.
Right. It was just like any other magazine
Yeah.
off the shelf.
Yeah, it was just, something the kids collected.
Yeah.
Really.
Or just something you've never seen before, don't know like anything to compare it to, like what
Yeah.
even is this thing?
That's like if my mom kept all of her Better Homes and Gardens like in mint condition.
If
like,
it was the first Better Homes and
Yeah.
like if the first
Yeah.
magazine that ever came out
don't fucking touch it.
about that.
This is gonna pay for your college.
Well, you just went through a family
I
member's.
did. My Uncle
collection.
Mel's.
Oh,
that's why.
really?
That's why I called you that one day.
Oh yeah, did you tell him?
No, I haven't told
Oh
him
my
yet.
goodness.
So my uncle inherited some comic books from his brother
Okay.
that he didn't really know what they were, and he wanted me to look at them because he knows I do this thing.
And he
Yeah.
knows some about it. You know,
Yeah, he
like
used to read them. He used to read
yeah.
them with his brother. And so I went down there because we were visiting them the other week, and I was like, well, in my head, I'm like, it's probably going to be shit.
Yeah.
Nine
you
You just
times
don't
out of
want to
Superman.
get someone's hopes up.
no, oh yeah, and like 9 times out of 10, when someone's like, hey, look at these comics, these old comics I got, they're fucking garbage.
Yeah.
He had like early Amazing Spider-Mans in there, like
Oh.
5, 6,
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
And-
no way.
and you're gonna pass out. He had them just in bags, like in a Tupperware thing, like crunched together.
Oh my God.
And I was like, Mel, I'm coming back with bags and boards, and we're putting these in bags and boards, you
But
fool.
at least he had them in plastic bags.
He
Like they're
did.
not just out
He did. And the box had a lid on it, so like it's climate control.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you need to be 100% careful with this. And like it was mostly Spider-Man stuff, so I instantly thought of you when I was digging through this.
Oh, chills.
He has the second and third appearance of Doc Ock,
Wow.
the first appearance of Kraven,
Wow.
and they're just like hanging out in this bin. And I was like, like
Yeah, he came up and he was just like, well, I mean,
it's like I'd seen a ghost.
Yeah, and he played it pretty cool because I think he was just wanting to like orient.
Yeah.
I mean, we're by no means trying to buy these off of him. We're just trying to help him understand what he has.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But
I know what you meant.
But it was just to find what it was and see if
Yeah.
it was worth preserving and just help him figure out if he wants to keep collecting or what it
Yeah.
how to move forward from there. But he was like pretty calm about it. When we got in the car, he was like, I gotta call Mike. I gotta call him right now.
Yeah.
Tell him what I just held in my 2 hands.
And I hadn't gone through the whole box yet, so I don't even know what else is on the bottom or anything.
Good God.
So, but like so getting back to the selling for $1.2 million.
Oh, well, hang on, though.
Okay. Do you want to go with me the next time I go over?
Yes,
You can come with me if you want.
I do.
I think you would. I don't think you'd have a problem with that.
No, my Uncle Mel would like probably love that.
What kind of shape are they in?
They're in decent shape.
Okay.
They
Creased covers.
Not really.
Oh,
The cover-
not really creased.
The covers are attached. Some of them have like tape on the binding, so like that lowers the value, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, the covers look really, really good. There's no
Oh,
stains
man.
on them or anything. Like his brother did love comic books,
So he probably.
he did
wanted to
care for
keep
them.
them.
But yeah, if you want to go with me the next time I go, I'll let you
Yes.
know. You can come with me
Yes.
because it's fun just holding those. You're just like,
Totally.
oh my god, like,
Yeah.
these are amazing.
Spider-Man.
Hey, but do you think that sets like a weird precedent for people who don't collect comic books, like seeing that this comic sells for 1.2 million?
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I'll start collecting
Well,
comics.
yeah,
I'll be a
that's
fucking
so
millionaire.
few and far between, and you're probably not going to get that if you follow the stories that you like or
No,
the stories
no.
and the runs that are coming out now.
Mm-hmm.
So like a new jumping on point, unless there's a first appearance, which luck of the draw, you never know what's going to happen with
Right.
those. But I do think it sets an unrealistic precedent.
Expectation.
Yeah.
I kind of think about this when something like a new Superman book comes out. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're like the Bendis run of Superman's coming out, and on like CNN or in like Newsweek or something, they were like, notable things you might want to know this week. Like, hey, Superman, this historic character is getting rebooted again by such and such. So head to your comic book shop and pick that up. And then all these people come out of the woodworks.
Right.
And the guy at my comic shop is like, sometimes these weeks are a nightmare. Like, they're really great because I sell a lot more comics than I typically would have. And
Oh, yeah.
it's getting more people, potentially back into reading comics on
Right.
a regular basis. But at the same time, you have tons of people being like, oh, yeah, comics, they're valuable. I'm going to bring in this box of junk I have. And in the middle of like a Wednesday when the store is just like crazy
Yeah.
and be like, hey,
Yeah.
I thought you might, be able to tell me like what I have here and what it's worth and yada, yada. And they're like junk.
Yeah.
And I think that dissuades people from continuing that practice or hobby.
Yeah.
That you almost think like, hey, comics are
For reading.
a money game, right?
Yeah.
That like you go and you pick up the key ones and you hang on to them and like they're the China plates or precious moments dolls that
Mhm.
That's what I was going to say. It reminds me of like antiques or pawn shops, like
Beanie
especially
Babies.
Pawn
Yeah.
Stars, where like you unless that is your business that you're doing, you have to really actually be into the thing that you're collecting because half the time, more than half the time, it's not going to be
90%
a
of the
financial return. It's going to be a sentimental value return.
time. Right. Yeah.
If you're not into it, don't collect them.
Case
Yeah.
in point, Mike and I will withhold buying comics because we know in a month, Midtown will have a 90% clearance sale on all the comics we want to buy.
especially more, I always feel like a dickhead when I say something like this, but I'm like, the more Joe Everyman. That's not me. I'm special.
You are. We're all special here. And you too, listener.
Here's about a comic
club.
that's gonna. Yeah, that's true. It is a club. That is going to be unique or special, or like this is one to pick up because something important is happening.
Mm-hmm.
You bet your ass they're printing a fucking million of those.
Yeah, and they'll be worth dog shit.
That's going to be worth zip zilch. The things that you have no idea something important is going to happen that either gain some cultural relevance or, you know, people get behind this one character that no one thought was going to take off, and then it snowballs into being a phenomenon in comics. Those are the books that are now worth something.
Yeah, and super hard to find.
Yeah, exactly right.
Man, I hope Glob turns into something.
Yeah. Glob, come on.
All those Glob first appearances we've been buying for years.
Put Glob in the MCU. Get that hashtag going. First issuers.
Oh, man.
Glob first appearance
What a
library.
dream.
Send your donations. We're building it.
All right. Well, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get this podcast started. Welcome back from that little short music break, which we all were dancing to. First up, we're going to cover The Crow, Hark the Herald, a fun, festive romp for this holiday season. Caitlin, why don't you give us a little breakdown of what this book is?
All right, so this is a story about an annual Christmas gathering of assassins and killers, but it goes awry when one of their own goes rogue and does something that they can't come back from.
Like being an assassin or a killer.
Yeah, but not in a way. So what happens is...
What had happened was...
He gets upset by this dad insinuating that you wouldn't typically find someone of his stature near a college.
Yeah, he insulted his intelligence.
And so that makes him so angry. He ties them up, lets them see all of the Assassin's Guild faces, and then they have to kill these people.
Textbook.
Yeah.
Do you think
Natural progression.
one of the world's most proclaimed assassins would have such a small ego that he couldn't handle someone saying, "You probably haven't been to college."
Or at the very least have an associate's.
I think the point that they try to kind of like subtly hint at is that he's the most unstable of the bunch.
Yes, he's the loosest of the cannons.
He's the BB
at the
boy.
cannon party.
He's the BB boy assassin. Like
Yeah,
he's not really fully into his own yet, and obviously is the reason that they're also pissed at him for doing just wiling out, bringing these two people back that they have to kill now.
I was so confused in essentially
all of it.
The rundown that Caitlin just gave us was a tiny paragraph on the opening page of the comic that seemed very breeze over.
Yeah.
Like you never would have thought to read it to be like, I'm going to get context for the thing I'm about to read.
Right.
Like I thought I was going to gain that within the comic itself.
Right.
Not some like weird title page hidden paragraph in a thin font that was like hard to read that explained like these are assassins. I get to page like 6 in this and they're like some of the stuff they're saying isn't making sense and then they all pull out guns at once and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Flip back a few pages, try to find out what I missed.
Am I missing pages from my book?
I think to that point, the problem with this book was the flow of it and the pacing. I think what they were trying to do is not give away that this girl, who I guess her name is Cecilia Wright. I have no idea about the Crow. So tell me if that's a famous person in that story.
I don't know. I thought the Crow was a man.
Well, the Crow is a man. The Crow is who Cecilia Wright is being guided by.
Oh.
He
okay.
brought her back, or he's guiding her to come back and haunt and kill these people. Again, totally missed that in the story.
Oh, is that from the back pages?
It's from something that I read online.
Oh.
But
Okay.
so I think what
Context.
they were trying to do, yes, I think what they were trying to do is not bring that spoiler in right at the beginning, because obviously you should probably get to the point that this girl was, he killed this girl. You don't find out that happened until you're almost done with the book.
Yeah.
And she's been picking them off one by one the entire time.
We should probably preface this. We as a group know zilch about the Crow franchise.
It's true.
So if you are a Crow fan, we apologize because we're probably butchering your franchise.
Well,
but it is something.
I think it's fair to say that this is the perspective of the pacing of the book itself.
True. Yeah.
I mean, if this is supposed to be
totally,
if this is supposed to be a continuation and not a new jumping on point, maybe that could have been made a little more clear. I don't know.
Well, and
yeah,
actually,
if this was a pre-existing storyline that like wound up in a one-shot, like I would have loved to have known that.
Yes.
Or for a line to have said, "This is the conclusion to series blah blah blah."
Well, and if that's the case, can anyone become the Crow character as long as this Crow is like guiding them?
I don't think she is the Crow. She's just being guided by whatever the spirit or whatever the force is.
No, I know, but like what I imagine is as soon as you doff that white and black paint, you are henceforth like that reincarnation of the Crow.
So I can go to a
don't
paint
think it's
shop
like the
and
Santa
just be
Claus.
the Crow.
Well, no, no. It might kind of be like the Santa Claus. I mean, that raven.
You really into Kiss? No, I'm the Crow now.
I'm the Crow, motherfucker. Did you kill my dad? But I feel like that Crow is like a guiding like force, and so like he may be the original Crow, but like he has given to you the knowledge of how to become the Crow.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that
and
anybody
apparently
could
the face
be.
paint.
As long as it is bestowing upon you. I don't think she went to a Michael's after she climbed out of a lake.
You don't know that.
What do you think? It looked like it was like supposed to be zombie, like
Yeah.
zombified
like she was like in like
flesh.
a death metal band.
Yeah.
No, wait. Go ahead.
Here's how I take this. People who deserve to get revenge
Are visited.
are selected by this spirit of vengeance, we'll call it.
Ooh.
Sound familiar? And then are risen from the dead. Part of that unholy ritual makes them look like this weird demon thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is like
okay.
They've lost all the blood from their body.
Yeah.
They're
Corpse
stark
paint,
white,
yeah.
but demonized.
They have
Yeah.
arrows that have black feathers in them.
That was dope.
Ooh, that was dope. Now, if we compare the quote unquote face paint between the original Crow from the movies
Keep saying face paint.
to
That was a very articulate way of saying how it wasn't face paint.
yeah, and by the way, no one could see my parentheticals
I think they
through
could
this
probably
audio.
sense them.
Yeah, I liked her rendition more than like the original Crow. Like hers
Because she
was
had
like
like
cool,
a hoodie
like
and a fanny pack.
yeah, and like her streakiness of like the black lines. Like she looked more ominous than the quote unquote
It was like
original
a
Crow.
porcelain
looked
doll
cool.
mixed
Yeah.
with that.
mixed with like cemetery.
Oh boy.
So wait, so she died, right? We're led to believe that
Yeah.
she died along with her father.
She was murdered.
She had to.
She says you killed me.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna be brutally honest, real quick.
I did not read
Yeah,
this.
do we
No,
find out now?
No. I read this front to back. I was so put off by the ending of this book. I tried to forget it as soon as I put it down.
You were put off by the ending?
It ends with like the weakest ending I've ever seen.
How?
Really?
She just like disappears. Like
She turned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her vengeance meant nothing at that point. This woman didn't really want to die. She just wanted to be forgiven. And the thing that she could do, that the only vengeance she could have is denying that woman the one thing she wanted.
okay,
Which
well,
wasn't to stay alive, it was to be forgiven. So
Yeah.
she was like,
And you
not
don't get
forgiving
that.
you, but not killing you either. So you got to live with this shit.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
That's kind of dope. I thought anyway. Some people have their own opinions. Hey,
well, I didn't go to
maybe
college.
you don't like
so
poetic endings. I do, for example. So,
I'll see you in a cabin later,
oh boy.
tied to a chair.
Oh boy.
Anything else you want to cover from this book?
I think it's fun when non-holiday things get holiday specials.
Oh my god.
And the idea of, I love the idea of a group of assassins having like an annual Christmas. Like, we're these fucked up people who have the least normal lives of anybody, but this is going to be our one thing that's like a nice family experience and a return to like normalcy, and then we're going our separate ways and we're fucking killing people again.
Right.
Yeah.
So that as a concept itself was really interesting. And then on paper, if you would have said, hey, this is what happens, and then all these people who are having a Christmas party at a cabin in the woods are slowly picked off one by this woman seeking vengeance, I would have said, sounds like a killer Christmas movie or comic book or show or whatever.
Right.
It's like Christmas style. I know what you did last summer.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Do you think this guy? Okay.
I know you did last Christmas.
So do you think this?
Why didn't
How
they
was
ever
that
do
not
that?
a movie?
Oh,
Someone get Jennifer Love Hewitt on the phone immediately. She's not doing anything.
She's doing Fox's 911.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
she is?
Now talk about a show.
Oh, it's so funny.
I think we've talked about it before. You guys need to watch
It's
911.
absurd.
The craziest thing I've ever seen with my two peepers. Do you think this book suffered from being a one shot?
I have to say that I would have been way more into delving into a little bit more of the backstory of all these assassins and more of that dynamic of, like you were talking about, like why they gather, what their lives are like.
Yeah. I felt like we got like a real Cliff Notes version of a story that
That's
Tim Seeley wanted to write.
A great way to put it.
And they seemed fleshed out. Like they all had their things.
Kind of interesting backstories and stuff like that
Yeah.
you kind of gleaned from conversation.
Yeah.
But it was just like, oh, I just have to infer all this stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why give that guy like kind of that staunch religious background if you like I want to know more.
Right.
Yeah, Jesus.
Totally.
Like
And
if this was a mini 5, it would have been perfect.
yeah. She seemed like an interesting character. It was cool
Yeah,
seeing
totally.
It was cool seeing a woman be the crow.
Mm-hmm.
She was, like they said, like dangerous but well educated,
Yeah.
worldly,
Yeah.
still country hometown hunter, but also like had a spiritual sense about her, which I think helped her in her case to get crow vengeance.
Ooh, yeah, she was in tune with the spirits around her.
Yes, exactly. She thanked all the deers that she
Oh,
killed.
that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do wish it was like
The more that
a
we're
few
talking
more
about
issues
all
longer.
these different elements of the stories and the characters, I'm just kind of bummed that we didn't get more.
really, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been a one
Tim
shot.
Seeley's a good writer, too.
He's an amazing
We
writer.
like him.
The art was great.
Yeah, it was good.
Like the whole book was like good, except the story needed to be longer. It
Yeah.
just suffered from the one shot aspect
Yeah.
of it.
You think they're going to pick up the story with Jane, the lady who survives? They could. I mean, I know it's a one shot, but
I don't know. It's IDW, so who fucking knows? Probably next week it'll be the Crow and Ghostbusters
and Jane.
and Jane,
Jane.
who's now a Transformer for some reason.
People are like, who is Jane?
Jane goes
Why is
and
she in this crossover?
she goes to Glow, which is also a
Oh.
thing,
Which is
Yeah,
also
right.
on IDW.
and she wrestles for money.
God,
Instead of
IDW,
kills.
the fucking blender of comic book publishers.
Yeah, big time.
All right, well, moving on.
Before we go,
Oh yeah,
if you could have anything for Christmas, I was thinking about this while I was reading this book, including more abstract things like vengeance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it never occurred to me that like I would like for my enemies to perish for Christmas.
yeah. So we can go as wild as that.
Yeah, I think so.
I think, and this is going to be a real phone-in answer, but I would like to just have full and complete, like, to feel complete. Like every day it's just like I always want something, or like I always need something, like to have just to be like completely okay with like where I'm at, and like I don't need to compare myself to the Joneses.
Yep.
Just
Contentment.
That's what. Yeah. Just like completely 100% unfiltered contentment would be like dope.
Yep.
And Bakugan.
What's Bakugan?
It's like those little, well, they're like kind of like Transformers.
Okay.
But you throw them on magnets and they pop out. Bakugan. They're like metal
I think
Pokemon.
I can make one of those happen for you, young man.
All right, I'm getting Bakuman for Christmas.
You don't think it's going to be the
I
sense of
can't-
completion?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel completed.
Oh boy.
I get completion.
Oh my God.
I was kind of thinking of something along the same lines though, which is kind of funny. Just like I feel like I have been a little restless, like moving on, getting engaged and getting married in the span of 1 year can really do that to you.
Yes.
And changing a job, and I just feel like I'm constantly like, what's next? What I got to do? What do I have to get ready for? Like, what do we need to improve our house? Like, what do we need to do this stuff? And I think just knowing what I would need to be okay in the moment would be like if I could snap my fingers and it would just appear, whatever I need to be okay in the moment would be awesome.
It's so hard transitioning from a busy part of life into a less busy part of life and appreciating it.
Yeah.
For sure.
The go and just the human nature of being used to that, it just seems like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or you're not doing a good job at your office if you're not just like working so hard.
Yeah, towards something tangible too is the thing.
I have to tell myself all the time to just like
enjoy the calm,
slow down, and just like do nothing, and that's okay.
Which you may be less of now because someone got a new puppy.
I got a puppy.
Adorable little Louie.
Is that what you wanted for Christmas?
That is what I wanted for Christmas.
Yay!
So, miracle received.
Meanwhile, I'm over here Bakuganless.
I told you,
Poor
I'm
guy.
working on it.
Okay.
Do you know what also would be dope is if you had that point of view gun from,
from,
Hitchhiker's Guide.
that
I
would
think I
be
probably
sweet.
talked about this before. That's the one thing I would want.
It's
most
awesome.
in
It
this
would
world.
end all arguments
Yeah.
and
Or-
war.
Yeah.
Just
I
imagine
mean-
an entire fleet of army men with point of view
Well,
guns.
it doesn't change your mind, but it just lets you understand that person's mind.
Yeah.
fully.
Who knows?
You may still be like, still disagree with you, but you would at least fully understand
See
how
where
that
you're
person
coming from,
feels.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, shall we get into Killadelphia?
Yes.
A comic book that is not holiday themed, but still very, very good.
Yes.
Caitlin, you got us a little synopsis for what Killadelphia is?
I sure do.
Would you mind reading it?
I would not.
I'd appreciate that.
So this is, the subtitle is called Sins of the Father, which is apropos. The son of a well-known, dedicated detective comes home for his father's funeral and finds way more than he bargained for when he unwittingly picks up the trail of his father's last, biggest, and most deadly case.
Before we get started with this,
Yep.
I'm going to have a couple minor gripes. But I just want everyone to know I fucking love this book.
Quick disclaimer.
Before we just get into like the list of things we loved about
Yeah.
it and how good it was,
Uh-huh.
I think it's hard to have a really like interesting, thought-provoking conversation about things sometimes when you're just like, it was so good.
Yes.
And that's all anyone can agree on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Holy
let's
shit.
get into it. Counterpoints.
Counterpoints. The narrative was slightly confusing. The bopping around between him and his father.
Yep.
They even used like different colors to indicate who was speaking.
Right.
But I would agree. Even still, like you're trying to get oriented to that, but there are a lot of different points of view that you're being asked to follow.
Yeah.
And I'll give it a compliment and a diss in the same vein of that. The art style, while incredible and
Mhm.
tonally was just killer for the sort of story we were telling here.
Right.
The style itself was dark and muddy,
hmm
which made differentiating characters
Oh, so hard.
like really difficult. They had this like really cool painterly sort of stroke to them,
hmm
but it was for getting introduced to a handful of new characters. It was just like, who
Yeah.
am I following
Because
now?
sometimes one face would be brought more into sharp focus, and I would be like, is that the same
Yeah,
Yeah.
person?
right.
And then, like, another critique I had was the cursive writing. Holy shit.
Hard to read.
Hard to
Yeah.
read.
Hard to read. Cursive
When can
in general.
cursive die?
It was so small too.
Yes.
It was.
Does
Elegant handwriting, but
I didn't
fucking
mind
A.
it. I didn't mind it, but I got stuck on the word solace for like 45 seconds until I was like, yes, solace. That's what that says.
Yahtzee, got it. I can finish reading this comic.
does it fit the character type too for like a 65-year-old grizzled murder crimes unit detective to have pretty cursive handwriting in his journal?
And a
Will
journal.
make the case that it does because you do get flavors of this guy where he's very gruff and abrasive with his son and with his dying wife,
Yeah.
but yet he is very gentle and kindred with his coworker who's also female and fancies himself some sort of like legendary detective.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe you get that kind of narcissistic like
Oh, I can see that.
I've got this
Sure.
great
That's actually a
script
great
for my
point.
journal.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to. He's so narcissistic. He's so He's so narcissistic that he doesn't care about his wife or his kid that much, but he does want to preserve his legacy. So much so that he takes extra time with his handwriting and who he works with, his coworkers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because even his son to say like the fact that he even has a journal
Yeah,
is weird.
is out of this world.
That's a great point. I love that like his legacy drives him to just document his experience and be grandiose about himself.
And
Yeah.
his legacy isn't his family is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's
he's
his
going to be a
fucking job.
person that's going to be hard to
Yep.
unravel and
Um,
difficult for his son, which I love that. I love that
Passing of the
Dynamic,
legacy down,
yes.
but also
Yeah.
the resentment between the two
Yes.
characters. Really
watching
cool.
him trying to fight with that and move towards solving his case
Mm-hmm.
while fighting with all of that and getting buried in some real weird stuff, supernatural.
this book was so fucking good.
Yeah.
It was written so goddamn well.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it.
If you told me the premise, I would be a little underwhelmed, I think, because it does seem to be a little outlandish.
Yeah, so I didn't know anything about the book when I started reading it. How about you guys?
Nope.
Same.
Okay, when you got partway through it and realized, oh, literal vampires,
Mm-hmm.
were you like,
Yeah.
a vampire story?
Yeah.
I was.
Well, I thought they were going zombies for a minute.
Same. Like it flipped. They're like, oh, these are zombies. Oh, nope, they are fucking vampires.
Yeah.
I was cool with it. The way they had set it up, it was like a different kind of vampire story than we're used to.
Well, you
Ish.
do kind of find out the vampire thing first, right? Like they're hinting at that first. And I kind of got a little bit taken down from the story. But then when you add back in that historical aspect,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of swings back around to where you're like, this is different enough for me
Right.
that I can still be surprised and engaged.
Yeah, you need a certain amount of narrative to realize that the vampire thing you're getting isn't crazy tropey and just another vampire story.
Yeah.
And a comic book being so short form, it's really, I think it's a little tough to swallow in a single issue. Like, oh, I'm getting some really interesting character depth here.
Mhm.
And I've been set in a world that feels real with relationships that seem really real and hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then the movement into vampires.
Stemming from one of the earliest historical figures in U.S. history.
John Adams, right?
was it his wife who had the yellow fever?
No, I think it was him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had it.
Oh,
When he came back from Caribbean or something like that.
Yes.
yeah, something like that.
Which, to that point, piggybacking off of like that narrative. It was a brilliant tool to use the dad's journal as a way to move through all that content very quickly.
Yes.
Because you're simultaneously able to feel this guy kind of grieving but kind of resenting his dad while reading all of this. And then slowly moving from, okay, we've gotten to unpack that a little bit. We understand that's his deal. And now he's just as shocked as we are to find out that there are vampires that have existed in Philadelphia for since
Ever.
John Adams.
Yeah. And just as soon as the son thought he had gotten out of his father's shadow, we learn at the very end, dun dun dun, Bat Dad.
What? Bad dad?
Bat Dad.
Bat
Oh.
Dad.
No.
Bat Dad. He's a vampire.
Also, super cold-blooded, pun intended, for him to say the same line that he said when he found out his mom died.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What
I
took you
know.
so long?
That was incredible.
This
That-
guy's a real
Rude.
asshole.
That made me
Rude.
I did a full body shake after
Yeah.
reading that one. I was like, woof, man. Now you're going to have to follow your vampire dad around
Yeah.
while he belittles you.
Nope, just
and-
during the night.
Right, I guess. And does his coworker know? Probably not.
No, I would say no.
I kind of liked how
Well,
they made the
I don't
eyes
know.
look yellow instead of red.
She may know because she was helping him with the vampire story. The father.
I would think she'd be the first one out there digging into his grave, though, if she knew.
That's true.
You think she'd wait a few days on that?
Well, she does know the patterns of them because she has that room where they all are at,
Right.
and she knows what times they wake up and
Yep.
all that shit.
And did they take him from that room? They did, right?
Who?
The dad, when he initially got... Oh, wait, are you talking... Okay, so the dad goes to Hell Hall, right?
Yes.
And then he gets killed.
Yes.
And is that where she takes him to? Is that the room?
No. So
She has
there,
a different room.
from there, they go to where they normally take bodies, which is where they're keeping the vampires in that
Who do you
freezer.
mean by when you say they? The morgue?
the morgue.
the city
person.
morgue?
Yeah, because she works for the
So
morgue.
she has vampire bodies in the morgue, or the vampire
Yeah.
bodies
Yes.
are in Hell Hall?
The vampire, the vampires are in the morgue because she can contain them there.
I thought they were in Hell Hall. Because that's
They're-
where...
they're-
They're
both.
also
Okay.
the loose vampires
Aha.
Yes.
congregate at Hell Hall.
Yeah, which I'm
Perfect.
thinking we're gonna get some kind of I Am Legend gang type
Yeah.
vampire stuff.
It makes sense. I'm sure there's freelance vampires who aren't so interested in the Hell Hall groupies.
Right, because I mean, they've obviously kept it under wraps for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to know how to move within.
Yeah. I love it. I love how there's just this secret subsect of vampires. They're kind of not really street thugs, but they're just this underbelly of crime and whatnot. I think it's sweet. I think it's so awesome. I loved how he was getting chased by one and he ran into a church and the vampire couldn't chase him in there.
It did go kind of quickly to how he found that out, right? Though, I mean, it was I started on this case, and then all of a sudden I find out this guy's name's Seesaw, and he wants me to come to Hell Hall, and I know his real name, and I was like, that's some
Yeah,
real
he got
quick,
a tip or something, didn't
quick
he?
detective work.
I thought he got a phone call. He's just hey, you looking for Seesaw? He's going to be here in Hell Hall.
Right, right.
And the guy's like, okay.
But how would he even have known who Seesaw was? I don't know. That to me was quick jump forward. But
I was a little confused by that narrative piece there. When they were explaining what and who Seesaw was,
yeah,
I was like, he said something about putting himself in the mind of so-and-so
Mhm.
known as Seesaw.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost thought for a second that the detective made up a character that was one of these vampires and put himself in the mind space of this personality.
yeah.
Oh.
Which that's totally not what happened. But
Right.
when he was explaining who
Oh,
it
I
was,
see.
I was like, is that what he's trying to say?
Because
Is
it
he
doesn't go
Seesaw?
through any of the legwork that he did to kind of discover who this Seesaw person was. It was
No.
just bam, I'm on the case, and I've already figured out the main ringleader
Yeah.
of all these vampires in Hell Hall, what he
Well, wasn't
goes
he
by,
a
what his
missing
name is.
a missing child
Yes.
case or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, yeah, there's a lot here to unpack. And
Yep.
Oh, I think I understand what you're saying.
yeah, he's he was looking
He
for the
didn't know.
missing.
He did not know that guy was a vampire guy
No.
at all.
No.
So he wasn't
Oh.
on that case yet. He was just looking for this missing kid, knew that the missing kid's street name or whatever was Seesaw.
And
That makes
was
so much
in
more
Hell
sense
Hall.
that he wasn't automatically connected to the ringleader of the
Yeah,
vampires.
yeah, automatically.
He literally stumbled onto that.
Yeah. I think that's how it happened.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it does.
It
Well,
was
I've
right
cracked
there.
this thing wide open.
It was right there.
I loved specifically the father who's murdered, his narrative of the story leading up to his murder. Like, it's interesting to get like having him being the one who's guiding you through this
Yeah.
tale post-mortem,
Mhm.
and then the story picks up with his son's narrative immediately thereafter. So in one case you have the a little mislead on who you think the main character is going to be right from the get-go, which I always love.
Mhm.
And additionally, I think that's always a surprise when a character dies and they've been speaking the narrative to you. And then there's also the commentary on his own death that was brilliant, where he's just like, how many times have we done this, you and I, staring down at that poor soul? And he's like, now here I am, looking back at you. Like, what, like, cruel fate is that?
And is he speaking from the casket? Since
That's
he's not
the thing,
dead?
that you think he's speaking from the beyond when
Yeah.
he's narrating, and you're just like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
And then it turns out not quite. So the narration like doubly makes sense.
And it's a fake out narrative 2 times.
Yes, exactly right.
So many fake outs.
Very clever.
Yes.
Very clever. Clever.
This was one of the art styles that it's so detailed and good that it almost pains me that this person has to churn out that amount of work
Yeah.
so quickly.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's such an undertaking, and I appreciate it because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's every once in a while I'll be like, God, they don't really have to do all that for us. Like, I mean, it looks great, but that's got to be so much work.
Well, this artist is actually pretty apt for this book because he's worked on comics like 30 Days of Night and Hellboy and Abe Sapien, who those comics, well, one of them is specifically about vampires in Alaska, and the other is supernatural goings-on. So I felt like that was a perfect mesh of creators for this story.
And there's a certain griminess to some of those books, too, that I think
Mm-hmm.
is not going to be like, I don't know. It kind of makes it more fun. Like, you've got your Twilight vampires, and then you've got like what this is going to be. Do you know what I know?
Right.
Do you know what I know?
I know what you know.
Too?
And I know what you're saying.
I'm glad.
So wait, the author of this may be, is this their first foray into comic books?
I don't think so.
Because like they
No.
gave the long list of stuff at the end of the book, and it was mostly
And
like
I didn't read it. No, I'm just kidding.
it was mostly like TV and movies and stuff. And I guess he wrote for the Academy Awards one year.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Like wrote like the jokes and stuff.
I guess like the banter that they do in the middle.
I'm pretty sure they all listed the big 2 at least in one project or another.
All right. Our writer was Rodney Barnes.
Rodney Barnes.
But you're right. He did have a lot more TV.
Yeah, he wrote for
Cinema.
like Everybody Hates Chris.
The Run of the Falcon in 2017.
That's right.
That's probably
Secret Empire.
Secret Empire, Brave New World -- 2.
Okay, so
that
yeah.
might be just a single issue. Star Wars Lando.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so okay. Interesting. So sweet. That's great. what a melding of minds here. This is like one of the best books.
Cool take.
I'm really excited to see where this book goes.
Do we know how long it's set to be?
We don't. I don't. I didn't look into it, so
Some of the
We don't definitively. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't look into it.
yeah.
it sounds like from the reviews that were on the back of this book, which we'll note were like Chris Rock, Jordan Peele, Brian K. Vaughan.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah, like prominent comic book and just cultural icons.
Right.
Were saying that this was like one of the best comics they've read in a long time, and what like their favorite graphic novel ever, blah blah blah. And so I think we're kind of led to assume that this is like a 4 or 5 issue
Minimum.
minimum graphic novel
Yeah.
that has like a beginning and end just from the way those reviews read.
Mm-hmm. Like maybe they have previewed the whole
Yeah,
story.
I think they've
I'm
had,
sure they
I
have.
think they had advanced copies, read everything, maybe
Such a bitches.
maybe to give like notes or something early on.
Which if
and,
you've
like,
got those
loved
three
it.
people giving
Yeah.
notes,
If you
I'm
got
gonna
Jordan
be...
Peele saying you wrote a good horror,
Well,
like,
see,
oh
and it
boy,
was
you are
like-
on the right track.
Right.
They were specifically speaking to the things that they are huge in. So it was like even higher praise, not just saying, this was a really fun book or this was really scary take on this. It was like, I do this thing very well and I'm telling you this is significant for this part
Right.
alone.
Yeah.
Right. And with Chris Rock doing the new Saw series, I mean, he's the king of horror.
What?
That's a real thing.
Oh, no.
They're revamping the Saw franchise.
Oh, why?
Hold on. Chris Rock is directing them. Comedian and actor.
Okay. I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
I do not care for the Saw movies.
I do not need more
Yeah.
Saw movies.
Nobody does.
How many were there?
Too many.
It was like, now that's what I call Saw.
Now that's what I call horror porn.
16.
That's all those fucking movies
I
were.
did a
Hey, you guys,
whole
you guys want to see
paper on
someone
horror porn.
cut their foot off? Pay $8. Watch this guy chop off something.
So not interested in it.
Nah, I'm
It's
good.
not teaching me anything that Black Mirror couldn't.
Yeah.
Hopefully they become more intellectual thrillers than
I think that's what they're going for.
anticipation of gore.
It was
Yeah.
it was announced after like Jordan Peele had gotten some real critical acclaim for his movies. And I think Chris Rock was like, well, I can kind of do that with the Saw stuff. And the people who make Saw were just like, okay.
Yeah, please.
We enjoy money.
Yep. We have been rolling down a long hill for a long time with
Yeah.
this franchise,
Yeah.
and no snow is collecting on this snowball.
All the snow's falling off.
Yeah.
But no one stopped us, so hop on.
Let's put the rock back on top of the mountain and roll it back down. See what we get.
The Rock back on the mountain?
Yeah. Chris Rock.
Well, we can't end it better than that.
Nope.
Nope. A Chris Rock
Impossible.
pun. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. This has been another episode of First Issue Club. We are a proud member of the Fountain City Frequency family of podcasts. Our music is provided by Primary Color Music. We are recorded in KCUR Studios. You can find us, rate us, friend, and follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email, and your favorite listening platforms at First Issue Club, FIRST.
I'm good.
I'm all right.
Okay.
Long December, and I'm the crow, and you killed my dad. Now I'm chasing you down, or am I? Who knows?
Maybe the sequel will be better than the last.
The last.
I think it should.
Na, 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 na.